Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video where I tell you how I drew my very first manga/comic page. A little bit about myself. I usually only ever drew single characters in different poses, usually only female characters, so this was also new for me. And yeah, most time I spent was on poses and somewhat anatomy, and what you realize is the more detailed your drawings get, the more important anatomy knowledge is, but at first it's all about the poses and gesture, I guess. And my general idea for learning how to draw is to just start a project, and whenever I feel stuck or like hit a wall or an obstacle, I look up a reference, which is the beauty of the internet. And this is exactly what I did here. I already brought some pose and anatomy knowledge with me, but especially for this project I watched a lot of videos by this artist called Ryan Benjamin, and these are the videos I highly recommend to you guys. It's not only about posing, but also about the penciling and inking stages of the comic. But let's tackle one topic after another and just start how to actually, begin with the page. So the first thing I guess you gotta have in mind is like the general idea of the manga or comic page. Let's just say manga for the sake of simplicity in this video. What do I want to show in general? And I had this general idea of this character like hacking away on a mountainside, and the last panel showing like the entire environment and the character being rather small. And then the next step was already like figuring out the paneling. So I had to know where do I want to show this character in which pose and how many panels do I need for that. And because I had no experience about paneling whatsoever, I checked out this video and they recommended 3 rows of panels as a like beginner to get into like paneling. So this is what I did. Obviously there's more creative ways to do paneling and using diagonal like panel lines, grid lines, but I stick to the very simple one and it worked out pretty well. So from what I noticed, the storytelling, paneling, posing and speech bubble placement go hand in hand. So if you can already plan that before actually going into the details, that's perfect. So this is why I already put these white areas here, because I wanted to add some text for these parts. And after that you can go into the more detailed sketching. Like as you see in the first panel, it was very, very rough. So I made another layer to kind of actually determine where the lines will go. And then pretty much went into the penciling or like line art, if you want to call it that. I also need to mention that I redrew this second panel 3 times, and it's best to do that in the rough pose phase, because if you already put detail into a pose which you later scrap, it's just some time that you wasted. But this happens all the time, so don't feel bad for it. It's also a learning experience. But once I was happy with the lines, with the poses, I went into the inking process. And this was probably the hardest part for me, because not only do you need knowledge of actually inking, where do I put the blacks, where do I put hatching, and which lines do the hatch lines go. Using reference, using some trial and error, I was pretty happy with it. And another tip I can give you is look for references, obviously, but especially like bodybuilder poses in different lights, so you know where the shadow would fall, where the light would go. This is what I did, and use these hatching lines as a transition between the light and dark areas. And after the inking was pretty much done, the next challenge was the background in the last panel and the overall background textures for all the other panels as well. Because when I just use gray, like in this, it just doesn't look right. So what did I have to do, or what did I do? For the background textures, I looked at some manga panels from Vinland Saga and realized, okay, they used kind of texture brushes. So I looked for a free brush set on YouTube, which I found pretty fast. And this also came in handy for the last panel, because there was no way I was gonna draw each individual pine tree myself. So I used a dedicated brush, which I can recommend for you, especially for the backgrounds, that you use like simplified brushes that kind of take some work away from you. And by looking at references, I knew how to texture and ink the mountainside, and how to texture and draw the forest and the mountain background. And then I was almost done. As you see in the different versions, I switched the font to make it more readable. And I also realized in this Vinland Saga manga panel reference that They used the rather, like, this font is rather small in the speech bubbles, so they have some breathing room, I guess. Yeah, and after that was done, I took an overview, like looked at the entire page and marked some things green, which I wanted to improve, made some small notes, yeah, which I then just corrected one after the other, and then I was pretty happy with it. You could always go into more details and make the process longer and longer, but the more time you spend on details on single pages, the longer it will take to finish and publish the entire thing. So yeah, find your balance, and I was pretty happy with how this one looked. Obviously it's just one page, not the entire story. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess thank you guys for watching, and yeah, leave some comments what you noticed when drawing or what your obstacles were. I'd be happy to hear from you.